The title of the book, Through Green Eyes, and the author, Diana Joya, joins us now on Indie Book Publishing, and this interview is brought to you by Archway Publishing. Hello, Diana.
Hello, Steve. Thanks for having me, and welcome to my little corner of the world here, too.
Yes, you have quite a corner of the world, a corner in which a lot of children and adults are going to enjoy sitting down and reading about Kitty and her friends. And as you put it, it's a magical book about friendship, loyalty, and magic. And they're going to go on this incredible treasure hunt, and we're going to learn more about some of the details about their character and about this adventure in just a moment. But before we do, Diana, tell us a little bit about you, your background, and how this book came about.
Okay. Well, I've always been in corporate America, actually. Was most recently a vice president of operations for a software company, but I've always wanted to write a book. And at the same time, I've always wanted my life to be about helping others through motivating them, inspiring them, and educating people. Animals are another thing that are very dear to me as well. So to kind of take those two and marry them together was a perfect concept. So I came home from work one day about a year ago and saw up on the kitchen island a brochure for one of the local colleges, one of the local technical colleges. They were having an adult class on how to come up with and write your own book. And took the class, signed up for it, didn't really quite have the intention of writing a children's book, but got into the class and was so inspired by the people around me that had written children's books and that had been in that genre that I went home and started talking to my husband about it. And, of course, we have a cat who's very, very personable. Actually, people refer to her even as the dog cat because she's vocal and she'll come when you call her and she'll just sit there and talk to you. She likes to sit at a dining room table when we're having dinner, sit right there in the chair and kind of be part of the conversation. So we came up with this concept of writing about her in a children's book series and combining it with our love of helping others, inspiring, and educating. So then we started thinking of, okay, what are some of the issues that of the world that come up with kids that could be resolved maybe through a children's book? So that's when we came up with the concept of, being kind to animals. We see animals get mistreated so much out there and get neglected that we thought bringing something like that to light, along with bringing into play as well electronics and kids using electronics too much, and going back to the good old-fashioned of what a lot of my generation and older grew up with was just going outside and playing, using your imagination, and being out with nature.
Sounds like quite a plan and a great mission that you have. Well, let's talk about Kitty. Kitty, this incredible cat, she hangs out on the porch a lot, and that's her territory, isn't it?
That is her territory, and actually she's out there right now as we speak. It's a screen porch, and other animals do come up to the porch, and they'll sit there and hang out with her, basically. So we've gotten to the point where we have two neighbor cats that come over, and they'll sit out there and hang out, and we'll hand out things to them. But we also have rabbits that do, and a couple of squirrels that do, and birds that come flying down and everything. And it's kind of like, as we've called it, kind of like the animal kingdom. It just kind of comes out, and they all come together, and we started envisioning them speaking to one another because she actually will start chatting away to them and imagining what they could say, and then thinking it, of course, from the child's perspective. We have 12 nieces and nephews, and thinking it from their perspective. How do they view, Kitty and her little chattering to these animals, and what could she be saying to them, and what would she be saying if she could?
Well, we need to showcase right away the illustrations. I'm looking at the first one right now with Kitty's sitting at the bottom of the stairs with a little bunny rabbit, and it looks like they're both about to start moving, and she's about to start talking.
Yes, exactly. And that was the intention of the illustration. When we hired the illustrator, we were targeting and looking for someone who could make a realistic illustration, something that almost looks like a photograph. She did an amazing job. We went through about 3 or 4 of them before we found her. Just did an incredible job with the illustrations, and we get countless compliments on the illustrations as well. So, and the illustrations, of course, help bring the entire story to life. Because not only are you imagining it as you're reading it, but then you're looking at the illustration and it's really just kind of popping it for you that much more.
Well, tell us about George.
George is a very interesting cat. He actually belongs to our next door neighbor, but initially he actually belonged to people at the end of the street. Since they moved, and in so doing, he was an indoor-outdoor cat. He kind of is a neighborhood cat. He goes from house to house and sits around on people's porches and hangs out, and everybody knows George. So when the people at the end of the street moved, the people next door to us asked if they could adopt him, and they said yes. So they adopted him, but he spends probably about 20% of his time hanging out over here, too. Another very, very personable cat. In the beginning, he and Kitty, they kind of clashed. They were not buddies, and over the years, they've become best buddies to the point where Kitty will sit out there on the porch and wait for George. He'll actually look next door and wait for him to come over. So now it's pretty much a daily thing where George comes over, he gets his treats, he sits down, he hangs out. If we're out doing yard work, he'll come and he'll sit with us and hang out with us as well. Just a real sweet, good cat.
And, of course, there are kids involved. Tell us about Valerie.
So Valerie is actually based a little bit on me as a kid. A little bit tomboyish, but very girly as well at the same time. Very curious, just love to go out, wide-eyed, discovering the world, has that wanderlust in her, but yet has those parameters of, Mom won't let me go much further than X. So she is the one that actually gets very interactive with the animals and really imagines that, hey, this is my world, these animals. And then you have her brother, Dylan, who is opposite of her. He is more introverted. He will sit down with his tablet and just play games, play video games, and have a face down in it all the time. And she's always trying to pull him out of that tablet and look around at the world around them. So she's the more adventurous one. She's the one that actually initiates going out and getting out there with the animals and having these adventures.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this treasure map and the treasure adventure. We're not going to give everything away, but kind of set that up for us.
Okay. Well, the treasure map was intended to be more or less just an architectural blueprint of where things are going to be going in the story, and also to bring that sense of adventure in. So kids love treasure maps. Adults love the idea of treasure maps, too. It's always been something that over time has just interested people from way back in the days of pirates. So the treasure map comes into play, and that's what really gets the whole group of animals and kids together to say, hey, look at this. This is something interesting that we can focus on, that we can work on together, that we can have fun with. It's an adventure. It's adventurous. Let's get in and do this together. So again, the intent is not just the treasure map itself, but it's to get people together to say, hey, we can do things together. We can do things that are fun. We can do things that are adventurous, and we can interact without having electronics involved.
Now, this is the first in a series of books about Kitty and her friends.
Correct. So the intention is that we're going to make a series of the book. The next book is going to be called Road Trip. So it's basically going to be a road trip that's taken with Kitty and her humans. But it's going to have a couple of visitors sneaking into the car, and it's going to have a few adventurous places visited during the road trip. So I don't want to give away what's going on, but it's definitely going to be a really good follow-up to this book, and we'll continue the adventure theme. Also continue the friendship theme, the love for animals theme, the nature theme. All of that will be carried out in the next book in the series. Further than that, we really have not projected out too much, but we have some ideas of doing things like, say, for example, geography, maybe taking road trips into different areas in different states and highlighting those and what those states have to offer, and also introducing in different characters as well. Even having fan base feed into, hey, who should the next characters be? So maybe even making it that large that we can start making Kitty a household name, George a household name, and just the whole concept of, being kinder to animals, friends with animals, respecting animals, and friendship and love for one another as a theme, just pulling it all together. So
what's the best way to get your book, Diana?
So right now it's available on my website. It's www.dianajoya.com. And there you can link to either Archway Publishing, Barnes & Noble, or Amazon, and the book can be ordered through any of those means. Now, a portion of the proceeds for any book purchased through Archway will go to a local charity here in North Carolina called Carolina Tiger Rescue. So what they do is they rescue animals, tigers in captivity, and all kinds of big cats, actually, in captivity, and give them good permanent homes and take very good care of them. So we're partnering up with them on this.
Sounds like a great plan. The title of the book, Through Green Eyes. We've been listening to Diana Joya, the author and the creator of a series. We're not sure how many yet, but it sounds like you're on the move and excited about it.
On the move, very excited about it, anxious to even hear people's feedback. We want to hear from people. We want to hear about what their thoughts are on the whole thing. If you find me on Facebook, you can go in there and look at a trailer as well. So we created a trailer for the book itself, and it's getting a lot of hits. So go ahead and log in, become friends with Kitty, and enjoy.
Well, thank you, Diana, for joining us on Indie Book Publishing.
Thank you, Steve. You have a great day.
And this interview has been brought to you by Archway Publishing.